Why Final Space should have survived, but didn't. Animated shows reaching tragic fates has become an all-too familiar sight in the last decade or so. It seems as if the number of shows getting cancelled, deleted from streaming, denied a proper ending, or getting written off from the start has skyrocketed as of late. And look no further than Olin Rogers' Final Space. The 2018 animated sci-fi comedy series got 3 seasons over the course of 4 years, and what we got from those 3 seasons was super good. The show, at least from my point of view, was renowned for these 3 main things. It taking a serialized intergalactic saga approach, it being very dramatic with out-of-the-world stakes and conflicts, and the fact it is chock full of emotionally rich and engaging characters. Starting with that first point, which honestly comes to my mind first when I revisit the show, and that is just how much the show leaned into the fact that it is unapologetically a serialized adult animated show. When this show was blowing up, the kind of adult animation that got the spotlight, like these titles, are very much episodic in nature. So the fact that Rogers crafted Final Space to be as narrative rich as it is, and he was able to get it on primetime TBS, is incredibly impressive. Some of that can be thanks to Conan O'Brien, who served as an executive producer on the show. He saw potential in Olin's ambitious intergalactic animated series and helped make it what it was. Speaking of what it was by far one of the most grand shows I've ever seen, in terms of how dramatic every single episode seemed to be. It seemed that we're constantly twisting and turning going from one world-altering event to another. Whether it be encountering giant titans voiced by Keith David, or we are shocked by the show killing off one of our favorite protagonists. Its constant edge-of-your-seat scenes made the show one of the most engaging and captivating that television had to offer. But what really made the show great was that it wasn't all large-scale action scenes all the time. Final Space was also able to provide us with some of the most down-to-earth, likable characters that cartoons have to offer. All of our relationships, whether it be Gary and Quinn, Avocado and his son, or one of my favorites in Ash and Fox, were very fleshed out and had a real sense of heart behind them. Now, while it is fair to say that the show has some flaws to it, like Season 1 Gary, some confusing time-traveling things, and Kevin literally makes me want to slam my head against a wall, this show is still an absolute joy to revisit every now and again. But even though all those things I mentioned rang true, this show still found itself on the cancellation train before it could even tell its full story. I could dive into why this happened and bore you with all the tax write-off and streaming service shenanigans, but I figured I would talk more about how great the show was, as opposed to what could have been, given different circumstances. I will just add that it was truly sad that Olin Rogers couldn't finish the series he poured his whole life into, since he no longer owned the rights. But notice I said was truly sad. Yes, it is still sucky that the show is no more, but on April 24th of last year, Rogers announced that he is able to finish his Final Space story in the form of a self-published graphic novel. I truly can't think of another instance where I felt more joy for a cartoon showrunner as he's able to complete their show and write a proper ending. The amount of passion and love that Olin has towards this franchise is immeasurable, and that's honestly one of the things that makes Final Space as incredible as it is. You can't talk about Final Space, the final chapter, without talking about this show's amazing fanbase, which is honestly the cherry on the argument cake of why this show shouldn't have been cancelled. The fandom for this show is elite. The graphic novel, even though it's $125, has sold over 27,000 pre-order copies. And might I just say, this show was made for the bookshelves. It looks fantastic in graphic novel form, and though chances are slim I'll probably get my hands on a copy, I can still recognize the incredible triumph that it is. It's kind of cool and refreshing to see a cartoon get its happy ending. My statement at the very beginning of how Final Space didn't survive is kind of, thankfully, untrue. But I've established this format for 21 episodes now, so you shouldn't be surprised I'm ending this video by saying, Final Space should have survived, but didn't.